Welcome back to a fresh new episode of MyCast. My name is Pranav Dar.
And I am Jay Shivastav, and we are your host. For today's episode, we have with us one of the youngest guests for season 4. At the age of 23, she is India's first woman to win Wildlife Photographer of the Year. Her award winning photograph, titled Lights of Passion, features a tree with fireflies, forming a starry galaxy in the sky deep inside the Western Ghats.
Her photograph is currently being showcased at London's Natural History Museum for the world's best nature photography. Welcome, Aishwarya, to MyCast official podcast.
Hi Pranav, hi Jay.
To start this off, everyone has memories from childhood they are closely connected with. So, do you also have some fond memories, from childhood which might have brought you closer to your passion? And how did photography start for you?
Okay, very good question. In fact, so I have a lot of childhood memories relating to nature and photography for that matter. I don't know which to pick because there are so many. So I grew up in a place called Panvel, and Panvel is a very green place. It used to be much more greener than what it is now. So I remember as a child, staring out of my balcony and seeing fireflies at night while my dad used to read these Mahabharata story books to me. And there used to be all sorts of birds right outside my house. There, at one point, we even had wild boars on our streets. So it was a very in sync with nature when you can think of a childhood, and that's probably one of the reasons why I became so passionate about wildlife and about conservation, is because I have grown up with nature. So one of my earliest memories which possibly kindled this fire of photography in me was seeing a tiger in the jungle for the first time in the wild. And
Amazing.
I was so excited. I was like, because till then I had only gone birding, and for the first time, when you see a big cat in front of you, and you're very young, maybe I was around 10. Yeah, at that age, to see a big cat was so entertaining. And I was like, even now for me, when I see a big cat, I'm all on top of the moon because of, that's the feeling you get when you
Yeah.
see a predator. And I remember my first sighting very well. It was a winter morning, and we were like, it was my fourth safari at Pench, and we had not seen a tiger at all. And finally, after a lot of dry safaris, we got this huge male tiger walking head on the road towards me,
Wow.
and I was so thrilled. Like, this was my best moment. And my second sighting was again the same trip when there was this very famous tigress called Collarwali, and she chased a jackal right in front of us. So that
Lovely.
was again a very memorable one. So these are the things that prompted me to take up photography, because I wanted to share these stories of what I see out there in the wild with my friends and family, and that slowly took on a more wider platform.
Amazing. So, Aishwarya, you are the first Indian woman to win Wildlife Photographer of the Year. First of all, a big congratulations from our side.
Thank you so much.
So, could you tell our listeners something about the award? Like how many entries it registered, the category it has, and which category particularly did Lights of Passion win the award in?
Okay, so I basically won the highly commended award in the behavior invertebrates category.
Oh, great.
There are a lot of categories that the competition offers you.
Mhm.
There is behavior mammals, birds, invertebrates, plants and fungi, underwater. There's even terms of a creative nature photography. There's a portfolio awards. There are many different categories that you can apply into. So I applied in the behavior invertebrate and a couple of other categories as well.
Oh,
But my images were selected for the second round in a couple of other categories too. But the finally, which made it to the winning list, was in the behavior invertebrate category.
Amazing.
So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much. Even it was completely unexpected and surprising for me as well, because I entered the competition thinking if I win, I win. Let's see. But at a young age, you are competing with the world's best photographers, and
Right.
I think this year the competition received about 50,000 entries from 80 countries,
Oh, wow.
and people who have been doing wildlife photography for 20-30 years participate in this every year. So it's like, you are competing with the best of the best, and it's like the Oscars of wildlife photography. It's the
Oh,
Oscar of
amazing.
wildlife photography.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, it was really a big, very big surprise when I got to know that my image was in the top 100.
We are like super proud.
Thank you.
Could you now also take us through the entire experience of this shoot and any challenges that you faced?
Yeah, sure. Challenges were many. In fact, this was a very on the spot trip. Okay, it wasn't a very pre planned trip as such. I got to know that fireflies were there at Bhandardara, and it was just on the spur. I decided, chalo, let's go, and let me go and click them. So I went there. I met up with a couple of local people to understand which is the best, nature trail to take to see them in the mountain. It was quite a long hike in the darkness. So I was obviously afraid of snakes because they are nocturnal and at night you don't know what's happening. So you're
Yeah.
carrying all your gear, your full shoulders full of your gear. It's heavy. You have to walk, and on top of that, you have to trek up a mountain. And then even the local people warned me that there are leopards in the area, and that entire terrain of Bhandardara is an ideal leopard habitat.
Right.
So for the first time, I was literally wishing and praying to God that I don't see a big cat. And I am someone who prays every time I go into a forest that please show me a big cat. This is probably the only time I said I don't want to see one.
So I am sure that was a very thrilling experience, and everybody is really fascinated by fireflies. And so you won so many awards, previously as well, including the Diana Award. So what do you think are some key factors that make you stand out? Is it in the mindset, or the creativity, the imagination? What is it?
For me, basically, what I look for in a photograph when when I feel that my image is good is when the image tells a story for itself. Like for example, the Lights of Passion image, you can actually see that stars in the sky and fireflies on the ground, which are like the stars on Earth. So that amalgamation also showcases the behavior of the fireflies in terms of their bioluminescence, and at the same time also tells you the story about the fact that they are nocturnal.
Mhm.
And and even in the caption I have written and like mentioned about the fact that they are endangered, and right now the number of species are on the decline. So
Mhm.
these are things that I look for in an image. Is one, the storytelling aspect. Second is if there is any unique behavior that I have been able to capture. Thirdly, I look at creativity, because creativity is very important, and I feel that is
Hmm.
what acts like your signature. It makes you stand apart from the thousand other photographs that other people take. So yeah, these are the things that I look at.
Interesting. So, we were discussing how difficult it is to click the right photograph, and it isn't as easy as it seems, especially when you're shooting outdoors. So, one needs to have a good imagination, like how things would be turning up in the final picture, a lot of patience, and particularly no control over the light and weather. So, in such situations or circumstances, how do you prepare yourself each time for an assignment or a shoot?
So basically, I first read up about the place that I'm going to shoot, and
Hmm.
also if it is like if I'm just going for shooting the place, or like a landscape thing, and whatever animal or bird I find is a bonus, or if I'm going to a particular forest to see one species only, in which case I like make it a habit to read about the species, its behavior, to understand what are its unique characteristics. So I do a lot of research in the beginning of the shoot so that
Right.
I'm well prepared on the field, and nothing surprises me as such. And again, I make a note of the weather, as to what all conditions will affect the photographic
Yeah, right.
scenario,
Uh,
because like for fireflies, for example, I had to check the moon timetable as well, because moon
right.
set and moon rise, because I wanted to have no ambient light affecting the picture, and hence I made sure that when I reached there, the moon would have already set, or it was like really in the waning stage, so that it doesn't affect my photograph. So these are some things, like for example, for tigers,
Hmm.
maybe what you can keep in mind is that when you go to a tiger sanctuary during summers, you have a much better chance of spotting the striped stalker instead of going in monsoons or in winters, because yes, the feel of the forest is completely different. And if you see a tiger in the winter, possibly with the fog and everything, you'll have a mind-blowing picture. But if you really want to photograph it for an assignment as such, then I would say go in summers, because you are more guaranteed of seeing the tiger then, because they come to water holes
Right.
to quench their thirst. So a lot of preparation, because when, like you mentioned, on being on field, first of all, there is no retake
Yeah.
in a wildlife. I can't tell the tiger, walk again for me. I messed up with my camera settings. So
Yeah.
you have to be like picture perfect on the field, and try and get every parameter in terms of exposure, shutter speed, and all of this right on the field. And secondly, you have no control, like you mentioned, about the
Hmm.
light conditions at all. So if I'm shooting 1 minute in shade, the next minute I'm shooting in bright sunlight.
Yeah.
So I have to make a mental note of adjusting all my settings accordingly.
Absolutely.
So that is again a big challenge that one faces on field.
So much prep goes into
Yeah.
clicking the right photograph, especially given that it's in the wild.
Yes.
So, Ashwarya, we have seen, a lot of male wildlife photographers, and, surely this field is a highly male dominated one. Did you face any challenges in the initial stages, or, if you face any challenges in general? And in your opinion, how should a woman navigate, herself starting out as a photographer?
So I feel that I first of all, I didn't face any challenge as such just because I was a girl.
Right.
The industry is very welcoming, and in fact, a lot of the male photographers extend a lot of support to upcoming girls as such, because they also want more females in the entire industry, because it's only males, like you said, very few females. You
Right.
can literally count them on your
Yeah.
fingers. And
But luckily, we found one.
thank you. So when you look at in terms of general challenges, yes, at least in for women specific, in terms of on field, their sanitization does have become a problem in certain uh, forests,
Correct.
because you may not be having very good toilet facilities there. So for a girl
Hmm.
with periods and everything, yes, it does get a bit challenging. But other than that, I don't see any gender specific challenge as such in wildlife photography. Coming to the general challenges that one faces, then obviously one is funding, okay, for your projects,
Right.
and the second would be getting the right exposure, because networking is one very big thing that you have to do in wildlife to meet the right people and ensure that your portfolio reaches to them.
Agreed.
So that is a challenge.
Agreed. Agreed. So we have learned that people tend to buy products of brands that portray a strong story through their commercials and other marketing communications. So given that this genre is very emotive and powerful, how important do you think is marrying storytelling to the subject of photography?
I feel really that photography cannot be complete without storytelling, because ultimately, what are you trying to do with your images? You are telling a story of what you have seen out there in the wild. So, if I just take a picture of a tigress with a cub,
Yeah.
that picture itself tells the story of the big cat's behavior in the wild. So, every picture to me has to tell a story, no matter be it a portrait, be it a landscape shot, a wide angle, uh, any other type of shot, but it has to definitely evoke emotions in people, and that will obviously come when there is a story attached to it.
Right. Let's talk a bit about Panjay now.
Okay.
I'll just set some context for our listeners. So Panje is the last remaining wetland of Uran out of 800 to 900 wetlands which were previously there. And there were 71 sluice gates that were installed that dammed the inflow of waters into Panje, right? So Aishwarya, could you tell us a bit about your experiences of wetlands and wildlife, and especially of Panje, and how you saved Panje from being yet another concrete jungle?
Yes, sure. In fact, thank you for bringing up Panje because it's an issue which is very close to my heart, and I have grown up on these wetlands, visiting them and spotting flamingos and painted storks and whatnot birds at Panje itself. So for me, it was very heartbreaking to know that Panje would soon be reclaimed, and that is when I decided that I had to do something about it. So I was brainstorming as such as to what to do when my mom told me that why don't you make a documentary because you have been taking videos for quite some time, so put them to
Right,
use. And I was like, okay, fine, that was a great idea, and I was anyway studying mass media at that time, at that point of time. But there was one big problem that I didn't know video editing that much. So I went to a couple of editors as well,
Oh.
but the price that they quoted was like too much. I could not afford it.
Hmm.
So I went and switched to YouTube. I learned video editing on
Amazing.
YouTube, free tutorials as such,
Yeah.
and finally put together my documentary, uh, and uploaded it on YouTube as well.
Oh.
And the entire film became viral.
Hmm.
For a wildlife documentary to gain almost
right.
sixteen
We
thousand
saw.
views was quite a big deal because most of the views come for film stars or some other entertainment genre as such, but not for a wildlife documentary. And so when I that picture became viral, then a lot of people started taking notice, the media started taking notice of the issue. And then there was this whole sluice gate thing, because I had gone to Sidco. I had appealed to them that why don't you leave Panje alone, and why don't you kind of remove Panje out of the development plan that you have, and just possibly move your existing development project to another piece of land. But Sidco was like, this can't be done, and Panje is not even a wetland, and we have already sold it to
Yeah.
Reliance.
Yeah.
So there was this whole thing of, a big no, that they could not help at all. So I was left wondering as to, what should I do? But then I took the media one day out there to kind of, show them the place, and to write and make an appeal on TV channels that the place had to be protected. And that is when I discovered that this wetland was completely dry. So this whole process then started about as to why it is dry, because I've never seen Panje dry in my life. And we discovered these sluice gates, and then we wrote to a lot of people. We mobilized a lot of NGOs, the government, the media, and finally it was a big collective effort. But the sluice gates were opened and the wetland was restored. But I would say that one battle was won, but the war is still not over. We are still waging a war with these developmental authorities
Hmm.
to give Panje the status of a bird
Right.
sanctuary, because protecting it right now is very vital for, I would say, the survival of Mumbai city.
Yeah.
Right, right. Moving on, at Mica, we eat, sleep, and drink branding, and we learn how to craft brand stories. And we have read several case studies on how some individuals become bigger brands than most
Yeah,
well-known companies. So we cannot resist but talk about personal branding. We know that you have been closely linked with Discovery, Canon India, and even Decathlon, and you
yeah,
have an origami series going on with
yeah.
World Wildlife Fund. So, how much of it is conscious personal branding for you, and how do you see personal branding for a photographer in today's day and age?
I feel it's very important. In fact, being an advertising student myself, branding is one of the key aspects that you have to, kind of master for a product in terms of a company. So when I look at personal branding from a photographer's point of view, I feel it's important because you need to, as a photographer, you need to project yourself as a brand. to other bigger brands like say Discovery, or to Animal Planet, National Geographic, all these big channels. So for me, I really invest in personal branding using social media.
Hmm.
I feel that that is a good way to, one, connect with your followers, your fans, and also a good platform where you can showcase your style, your approach to a project as such. And all the projects I feel that you take up
Mhm.
as in your whole journey as a photographer, add to your personal brand as well.
Yeah. So you must also be working on your Instagram, right?
Yes, I make it a point to work on my Insta. Initially, my Insta was like, I was not very conscious about Instagram. I was more a Facebook kind of a person. But then I realized the importance that Insta has in
Yes.
today's world. And today's generation is all about digital, and we're all
Yeah.
Instagram followers and everything. So I was like, okay, fine. Although I am a millennial, but still I wasn't into Insta much. But the last 1 year, I am like quite active in on it.
Great, great. So, just like branding, we at Mica emphasize the most on creativity. We are encouraged to come up with crazy ideas and break established patterns to look at things differently. We even like to call ourselves the B school where management meets creativity.
Oh wow.
So, we would like to put this age old debate to rest. What do you think? Is creativity a part of human nature? Or is it something that can be learned and nurtured?
I feel creativity is a part of human nature. Yeah. It can be learned possibly, but not to an extent if you are born creative.
Yeah.
There are some people, who are literally born with a genius mind, who can come up with ad campaigns or with brand slogans at the drop of a hat. But not everyone can do that.
Hmm.
Some, maybe it happens over time, but for some people it does not happen at all. And so it's all about, I feel, creativity. And when it comes to photography also, you have to have a perspective as to how you visualize something. It doesn't,
Yeah.
by teaching you photography, I can possibly teach you the science behind it, like what is exposure, what is
Yeah.
ISO, how do you control light, all this I can possibly teach you. But how do you put that knowledge to use it, that depends on your creativity, and that I can't teach you.
Right. So can that creativity be learned, by doing photography or any creative thing over the years? Can you learn that art, or can you?
You can learn that art to some extent when you keep practicing it. But again, the style that comes,
Correct.
like if you when you look at creative nature photography, there is a person called Mr. Ganesh Shankar, and the way he sees, he visualizes nature. I don't think any of us can. Like, I mean, I have been following his work from the time I was a teenager. But at that point I used to find some of his pictures abstract.
Yeah.
But then when you read up the captions that he writes,
Mhm.
you then understand the depth behind those images, and
Yes.
they are so profound. For a person who doesn't have that kind of eye for that detail,
Right.
you may not be able to click the way he does. I
Yeah.
mean, I still can't.
Makes sense, right?
So it's each person's style at the end. And yes, to some extent you can possibly learn to click using different techniques, but then again, what matters in creativity is your visualization.
Fair.
It's like a film, directing a film. Like the way a Rajkumar Hirani directs is not the way a Karan Johar directs a film, right?
Agreed.
They're
Totally.
completely two different ways.
Right. So moving on, now that you've achieved, the feat of being the wildlife photographer of the year, and you have won so many awards, what's the next goal for you? What do you, look out for next?
So my next thing is I'm wanting to get into the whole field of on-screen hosting and camera TV presenting as such for wildlife shows.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is my I'm concentrating on that as of now, and also building up my doing research and doing pre-production work for my upcoming documentary. because for me, wildlife photography is a hobby,
Yeah.
but wildlife filming is what my profession is. So,
Right.
How does it feel when people call you the wildlife photographer of the year?
oh, it feels so surreal.
So we also read that you couldn't visit the London Museum and see your photograph.
I
And
know I couldn't go because the entire event this year was virtual,
yeah.
and I was really looking forward to meet all the winners of this year's awards, and also meet up with some of the best wildlife photographers who come there. And in fact, this year from India, I think 8 of us were there in the
Amazing.
top
Wow.
100 awarded images. So I
Wow.
was wanting to even meet all the other people as well, but we could not go. I wanted to even see my image in the Natural History Museum.
Yeah.
Again, it's a museum which I have been wanting to visit since childhood, but
Mhm.
what to do, I can't go to London, and I don't think I can go to London the next couple of
Yeah,
months
with the
as
new
well,
strain coming.
because of the new
Yeah.
strain
Very
as
well.
such. So I don't know what's happened to life. I
Yeah.
think what 2020 has probably done to us is that the most positive word became negative, and the most negative word became positive.
True, true. That's very true.
Oh.
So, could you share with our listeners what trajectory did you follow in order to be sure of what you're doing and not run after the mundane and monotonous 9 to 5 life?
I actually I didn't do anything as such. I just had in mind that I did not want to do a 9 to 5 job after I finished my 10th standard, because till
Oh,
the time I was wanting to, like, till the time I was doing my 10th, I wanted to be a CA because my dad's a CA.
Right.
But after that, when wildlife photography started becoming more interesting with every trip, I felt that I cannot sit in a desk job and be confined to a 9 to 5 boring lifestyle. You come back home, eat, sleep, watch Netflix, go to sleep. I could not do that. So I felt that possibly I can't take an office job. So what next?
yeah,
So I then felt that the media line was a very happening line, and
for
since
sure.
I loved wildlife photography so much, I felt, why not make this only my profession? It was very organic as such. There
Yeah.
was no, like, uh, just one thing led to another. That's it.
So, on a closing note, is there any recommendation that you like to share with us, which is important to you in your life? Could be a quote, a book, any particular movie, or an experience, maybe anything.
For me, every experience that motivates me is being out there, just listening to the forest sounds and listening to a frog croak or a bird sing. All these motivate me to to work hard, to click better, to protect our planet, because I feel that the biggest threat that today our planet faces is the thought that someone else is going to save it. So I really feel that each and every person, each one of us, can contribute to make a difference.
Yeah.
And there was this one quote that I really go by, which was, I think, said by Jacques Cousteau. And he had told once that, you protect something that you love, and
Hmm.
you love what you understand, and you understand much better when you see something.
Yeah.
So the visual medium has a huge role to play in that.
Absolutely.
And that is one thing that I swear by, because being a visual communicator and a filmmaker, I really feel that when anyone sees a wildlife film that is entertaining as well as engaging,
Mhm.
and an image which is thought provoking, it really gets you thinking, it evokes your emotions, and it also propels you for action.
Yeah.
So that is something that I swear by.
That's amazing. So that brings us to a close. Thank you so much, Ashwarya, for joining us.
Thank you, Aishwarya. It has been a pleasure hosting you on my cast. I'm sure the listeners are going to love this particular episode. We look forward to more interactions with you in the near future.
I look forward to. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Pranav. I had a lovely time.